Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I was right again, but as I always say, I'm not happy when my predictions are coming true. Why? Because mostly my predictions are bad. The outcome of my prediction is bad. That is, I predict things that will affect a lot of people. And I'm not saying this to, how fantastic I am, because I think my predictions are just normal, nothing genius at all. So what happened? Zelensky, and not only Zelensky, made some threats saying that they don't guarantee any safety for the foreign leaders participating in Russia's Victory Day parade, which is going to take place on the 9th of May. That marks the anniversary of 80 years from the defeating Nazi Germany. They have it on the 9th, some people have it on the 8th. I don't really care when you have it. The point is, you should have it, and you should celebrate the victory against such a big evil, right? So, what happens here? Zelensky, according to my interpretation of someone's threats, which I think they are threats. How do you know they're threats? You put yourself at the receiving end, and then you realize that if someone says something like that in the context of a war, you understand that these guys are saying, we want to give up. All right, so Zelensky makes the threats. Some other people in Ukraine's parliament makes a threat. Then you have the Telegraph saying, well, apparently, but we don't know if that's a threat. And now comes the Russian reaction. And the Russian reaction is the one that I predicted, which is, and I made 2 videos on this. If you do something stupid in Moscow on the 9th of May, when we have the parade, we're going to flatten Kiev with nuclear weapons. I said this, and we have Medvedev saying exactly that. And then Putin coming out and says, you know what? We didn't need to use nuclear weapons, but it doesn't mean we will not in Ukraine. These are the topics for today. I have a few articles here, I have a few videos, and let's start with the idiotic statement coming from the imbeciles from Telegraph. These guys are media operatives. These are operatives. They operate for a system, for others, not for us. They don't tell us, report the news. There's not such a thing with these guys. The Telegraph. Russia accuses Zelensky of making direct threat to Victory Day celebration. Maria Zakharova called this a terrorist. A terrorist does such a thing. And this is what Zelensky said. So, and remember, you should take it as at the receiving end. Russia has accused Volodymyr Zelensky of making a direct threat to its World War II commemorations of May 9th after the Ukrainian president said Kiev would not take responsibility for ensuring safety on the day. So Xi Jinping is going to show up. Vucic, even if he cancelled his thing in USA, he's going to participate, his office said. The Cuban president will participate. Fico from Slovakia will participate. Modi will be represented because he's got problems with Pakistanis now. So, and then what Zelensky said, this is theatrics, because Putin said, let's have a little ceasefire for 3 days. And this guy, instead of saying, well, I think stopping a rape in progress is always good. But he says, no, we don't stop it now. We just don't take a respite. We're just going to finish it all. I think any ceasefire in a war is good for the people. You can say, well, it's more than that. It is, but nevertheless, the thing is, the Russian says, let's have a ceasefire during Easter. The other guy said, let's have a ceasefire during May 9th parade. Okay. And this is what he says about the... But Zelensky on Friday dismissed the truth as theatrics. Just because he's a clown, he thinks in those kind of terms, obviously. This is more of a theatrical performance on his part, because in 2 or more 3 days, it is impossible to develop a plan for the next steps to end the war. You know, if you don't start, you're never going to end. So if you don't start the journey with one step, you're not going to end up to reach your goals. So Zelensky says, no, you first have to make sure that we plan at the end, and then we're not going to start anything. Well, I disagree with that personally. So Russia reportedly, by calling his statement as a direct threat, here it is: we cannot be responsible for what happens in the territory of the Russian Federation. They are responsible for your security, and therefore we will not give you any guarantees. That means there's no guarantees we're going to fuck you up. All right, so I made a few videos where they are right here. This is on May 2nd, this is on April 30th. Zelensky threatens Moscow's Victory Day parade with attack. And then Ukraine threatens to strike Red Square parade. This is another topic. So these are the two videos I made. You go over there and see the details on what this guy said. And we have obviously the Russians' response, which are, we start with the bad one. And the bad one comes you see this picture right here, the thumbnail? This thumbnail represents an atomic drop. Because I think that's what's going to happen if the Ukrainians are doing something stupid in Moscow on the 9th. And this is what Mr. Medvedev said. Kiev might not see May 10th. Threats from Russia follow Zelensky's warning about safety of victory parade guests. Now you see, this is a weasel interpretation. You can see it from far away. So Russia makes threats, but Zelensky just makes warnings about safety. And who started it? Right here, this guy started it. And the Telegraph is again using all kind of semantics and euphemisms to describe a real threat. A real threat. I don't guarantee you're not going to be fucked up. It's your safety. And I'm telling you in response, if that happens, this was going to happen to you. You dare to do that. You say, oh, that's a threat. No, I'm warning you as you warned me. Well, after all, how do your enemy, or how do you prevent your enemies to attack you? Or how do you have your children listen to your commands, your orders, your wishes, your demands? Well, they have to know there is a potential of something. Now, it could be a positive reinforcement and it could be a smack. That's in these two. You make a choice. And making sure that that individual either felt the positive reinforcement in the past or the negative the punishment, and you were consistent. And after you did it for a while, Pavlov conditioning enters and memory into play and say, whoa, this guy smacked me in the past a few times. Or this guy was able to withhold the ice cream from me when we went outside. Why? Because I didn't clean my room, I didn't listen, I didn't do this. So next time when we're gonna go somewhere and you do something stupid, the parent or the enemy could only look at you and say, stop. And you immediately understand that it's a possibility from the past to be smacked. Well, the Ukrainians don't have this anymore. The Western Europe doesn't have this anymore. They lost the deterrent coming from the Russians, which is nuclear weapons threat. So they don't think they will be smacked. A child lost the ability to understand that that guy over there, the big dude over there, has the possibility to make him do what he wants him to do. Why? Because he's stronger. That's how it goes, because he's stronger. The same with the enemies. Why do you think Mexico doesn't invade the United States of America today? It's not because they're good people, or we are good people, or we understand. Because we have armies for the exact reason. To defend ourselves in case of someone does something. So we have armies that will defend our countries. Don't give me the Costa Rica example that has no army. Costa Rica doesn't really matter if you go over or some volcanoes, what are you going to do there? I'm just exaggerating. But when you have an interest, when you're a big country, when you're an important country, and you have a history, once you have no army, your enemies from the past will come and take everything they want. The civilized guys, look at what the West does to the Russians right now, the civilized West. They want to plunder it like they plunder whatever is left of Ukraine. I'm talking about the resources. So this is a threat. So you have to continuously make sure that you have the deterrent. The Russians lost the deterrence because it's peace in Europe. Russia is weak. We can do whatever we want. They didn't move in Yugoslavia when we attacked. They didn't move in Iraq. They didn't move in Afghanistan. They didn't move in Libya. They didn't move in Syria. In Syria was the only time when the Russians started showing, hey, we got teeth. That's it. But it's just a facade. Now they see in Ukraine that the whole West, as Putin says in one of his articles I will feature today, the whole West has been fighting us. And I said it, and I think it's 100% true. So let's see what this guy has to say. He makes threats, the other guy gives warnings. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council and Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, not person, she has the pussy, okay, and original, not manufactured, have issued threats against Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky after he refused to agree to a 3-day ceasefire victory day. You see how they make threats because the poor guy just refused to agree to the ceasefire. That's not true. That's not true. All right, Medvedev was put out by Zelensky's statement that Ukraine cannot guarantee the safety of guests attending the May 9th parade in... That means, we're not guaranteeing I'm going to fuck you up, but it's not a threat. It's just a... What was that? He refused to agree to a 3-day ceasefire. All right, and quote from Medvedev, we need his guarantees. It's just a verbal provocation, nothing more. This scum understands that no one guarantees that Kiev will see May 10th in the event of a real provocation on Victory Day. Well, what do you think? What do you think? I think that's what he has in mind. Details. Meanwhile, Zakharova claimed, it's not obvious, it claims that Zelensky has betrayed his own grandfather, a veteran. Why? Because he fought in the war against the Nazis and they claim Zelensky is one. But today he's hit a new low. He's now threatening the physical safety of veterans attending parades and celebrations on this sacred day. The phrase that he does not guarantee security on May 9th on the territory of Russia because it's not his area of responsibility is of course a direct threat. Zelensky has rejected Kremlin's ruler Putin's idea of 3-day ceasefire. Okay, so you might not get the next day. It's exactly what I said in those videos. Now, do I want that to happen? No, but you have an idiot in charge of your nation, not your nation. Your nation, the leader. Zelensky is not part of your nations, according to my, let's put it nicely, opinions, beliefs, not assessment. No. Because he's Ukrainian as I am Zimbabwean, okay? All right, let's move on. Let's see what Putin has to say regarding using nuclear weapons. And this is the title on Yahoo, and we're going to go and read it. If you stop. All right, let's go. So, Yahoo, blah, 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 and says, Putin says he hopes there will be no need to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. What does it mean? He hopes. Well, if you bring the ball to the net, I will smash it. Putin says he has the strength to finish Ukraine operation. Vladimir Putin said in remarks published on Sunday that Russia has sufficient strength and resources to take the war in Ukraine to its logical conclusion. And that's 100% certain. Why do you think we're going to beat Russia? Strategic defeat. Though he hoped that there will be no need to use nuclear weapons. And let's see whatever he says. They wanted to provoke us, so we make mistakes, he said. Putin speaking, There has been no need to use those weapons. And I hope they will not be required. We have enough strength and means to bring what was started in 2022 to a logical conclusion with the outcome Russia requires. Okay, and we have this one right here from Sputnik. Putin says Russia has no need to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine military operation. And again, there is no need to use the weapons you mentioned, nuclear weapons, and I hope it will not be necessary. We have enough forces and resources, that's the one I always say, to bring what we started in 2022 to its logical conclusion. I'm 100% in agreement with that statement. And that gets me to the last topic from Sputnik. Russia alone in confronting entire collective West. Now, if you, my listener, or my viewer, my subscriber, my friend, disagree, if you disagree with that statement, I don't know what to say. I mean, I know what to say, but I won't say it because it's not going to be sounding good for you. So I have to use euphemisms. That means you should stick around here. But if you've been a long viewer of my channel, my videos, and you still don't know that actually is the West, the entire West confronting, Russia confronting, I would say trying to take its resources and kneel it, then I don't know. I don't know what you need. Some neurons or whatever you need, but something you need. I know. I have no idea. Now, why is it that it's only the West? I mean, do you agree that it's the West mainly? I mean, I didn't see Bangladesh being involved, okay, or Honduras. I see only the West. And not only the West, it is Al Capone's plantation, to be more specific. What does that tell you? Now, if someone beats someone over there, all right, and you obviously, not beats, but my favorite example, why do I give this example over and over? Because I know there's no buts or maybe or coulds or maybe she did something. Or, no. And I always use this example because it's clear cut. There's no interpretation, a rape in progress, okay? So if you see someone doing that, as a general rule, as values, right, as bad because someone is hurting someone else, does something against someone else's wishes, that's clearly over there, then hurts and shouldn't be violated. I'm not going to go deeper than that. So we should all agree unless we have a certain kind of evil mind. Now, that means you would intervene or you would call the police, you would get involved. Now, how come only the West got involved? Only the West got the feeling that that is wrong, and the rest of the world, about 150 more countries, did not see that as something bad? Do you think those guys of 150 countries and more are immoral? And only these guys are moral, and only those guys saw, oh my God, the Russians are beating the Ukrainians, man. That we have to stop it. Only the Europeans and Americans, Canadians, Japanese, Australians, New Zealanders, and South Koreans, that's about it? No, it's an order. It's clear that those guys want to do something. It's not Honduras. It's not Bangladesh. It's not Kuwait. Is that Kuwait still a country? Yeah, we protected it from Saddam, and then we took over Saddam's country. Iraq. All right, so what's going on here? It's clear these guys. It's only these guys who felt, oh my God, it's wrong, and nobody else. Why do I say that? Look at not every, but 99.9% of the times, you have the same countries who are talking about Russia, doing this to Russia, hurting Russia, sanctions Russia, and those are most countries in Europe, Canada, United States of America, Japan, South Korea, the Aussies, Australia, and New Zealand. And I'm not talking about the people. The people are owned by the interests who own your politicians. That's how it is. So your politicians that you voted for are doing their bidding, not yours, and you pay for that. Good job. How is an expression in Romania? Și futută și cu banii luați. That means, and they took your money. So both. So here you have no other countries, and if you add all of these countries, maybe with sporadic, Argentina or some other, well, they have their own traitors over there. You don't get to more than 40 countries. You do not get to more than 40 countries with the European Union, with NATO, with the 4 baboons that I already mentioned. You don't get to 40. I'm going to give you 40 countries, 43 countries. Why? I'm going to give you 43 countries of Al Capone's plantation. This is the world community, okay? That tells you that's a club. The rest is not interested in that. They want to stop the garbage, but they don't get involved. They don't get involved. Why? Like these guys would like them to get involved. So that means they're immoral. It's obviously something that's going on over there, right? Why Honduras doesn't say, you know what, we're going to send troops together with America. They say, the things are a little bit more complicated than that. So you have 43 countries out of 193 countries on this planet right here. So that remain about 100, not exactly 150 countries on this planet, if you take Russia out, okay, 149, who are, and if you take Belarus, you understand that these countries, that's 150, is greater than 43. Only those 43 saw the rape in progress as we have to go and intervene, and we're gonna beat the silent, is that how you call it, the aggressor, the suspect, and not a suspect at that point. Yes, it's true. Russia alone in confronting entire collective West. And the point is, they didn't nail it down yet. So the might is not right. Thank you very much for being with me again. Or it is might, because the Russians are protecting their lands, and they do what they do. They say, how can you say the Russians are protecting their lands when actually they invaded Ukraine? Do I have to explain that to you? Then stick around, man, or go and get some of my, 3,000 videos talking about the subject. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.